And welcome along then to France. It is round 10 of season 15 of the AL2 Wheel2Wheel Racing Championship. And we're here at the Circuit Paul Ricard in the south of France, just east of Marseille.
I like doing commentary with you, Matt, because you bring all the information.
Yeah, it's a classic track in some ways. Opened in 1970, hosted its first Formula One French Grand Prix in 1971, and it hosted 14 Formula One races over the next 19 years through 1990, and then it disappeared off the F1 calendar for a while. But in 2018, it made its F1 return, and over the last couple years, not exactly a fan favorite, but in this game, it can produce some great racing, as we saw Wednesday in the AL1 race, so should be an exciting one today.
I'm board with Steve-O, who missed out on a race win last week due to penalties from the safety car.
Yeah, it was really unlucky for him last week as he probably deserved the win based off his pace. Nobody was really near him, but a late safety car and a penalty really cost him there at the end.
Yeah, you always have to be prepared for that. And the team did appeal the penalty to the FIA, but the FIA had stand. We've seen Steve-O has been doing some time trial practice for France. And he says it's not one of his favourite tracks, but he managed to get a pretty good time trial time in. So we'll see how he can do as he gets 22.4 for his Sector 1. Some long straights in France. So straight line speed would bring an advantage, but there are some tight corners as well, so you need to have some aero so that you can defend around there. And he gets a Sector 2 time of 49.9.
It is one of those tracks where it's got the long straightaways, but Sector 1 and Sector 3, you need a lot of downforce, so it's just all about finding that balance in the car that will give you that straight line speed, but also the stability in Sectors 1 and 3 to still keep it on track.
As he rounds the final corner, we'll see what he sets as the benchmark target time to beat. As he sets a 1:29.5, which I think is a very respectable time. Who we got next out on track?
I'm riding on board with a letdown of State as he's coming into the chicane on the back straightaway.
As his teammate lets him by.
This turn 10 flat out right-hander to the long sweeping turn 11. It's a really difficult corner to get right.
And Apoplex posts a 1:30.1. Puts him second place for now.
And a letdown of State comes across the line with a 1:31.4. So a little bit off the pace, but maybe not his best lap. I'm sure he'll be a lot closer to Steve-O and Appleplex by the end of the session.
Yeah, 12.5 minutes left of the session, still plenty of time to get in, adjust the aero. Most of the other settings can't be changed on the setup as per Parc Fermé rules, so you can see what you can adjust and get back out there and give it another go.
And now the other Ferrari driver, Dastardly, is gone out on the mediums, which is not surprising given the tire strategy on this track. The softs don't last too long, especially at the start of the race, so the mediums are an attractive option for the drivers.
Yeah, Ted is also on the medium tyres, but they're the only two currently on the mediums. As CHM posts a 130.5. We do have a reserve in tonight who joined during the qualifying session, Chewy. We'll see how he fares in the AL2 field, and I think a letdown estate just let Dastardly by. You can see how Dastardly stacks up against the rest of the field, who set a time on their medium tyres.
It's a little wide on the last corner. Overall, smooth lap. It's just a matter of how competitive his time will be on the slower tire. It is a 132.07.
Which is quite a respectable time in comparison to his teammate.
It is when you look at the different tires, yeah.
So who else put a lap in then? Prev put in a 130.1 on that round. We have Old Dad's just coming round the final corner, but he has invalidated his lap. Just Mikey is coming up to the finish line to see where his lap time will fare, and he puts it into second place for now with a 129.6 on the soft tyres.
It's a very good lap.
Mikey, the current driver championship leader. So who else is out? We've got
Ted is putting in his lap on the medium tire. Little lock up from Ted into the last corner.
DRS wide open, heading towards the finish line.
He goes quicker than Dastardly on the same tire, so he'll be happy with that.
Yeah. Chewy is on a flying lap, but he has invalidated. It looks like Dastardly might be coming out on a set of softs. So it looks like he wasn't happy with that medium time.
And Steve-O has just set a purple sector 1 on his second go. Again on the soft tire for him.
Old Dads has put it into P5 with a 131.0. I wasn't sure when he posted that, but he's got that in there.
Steve-O, another purple sector in sector 2. This is looking like a really good lap for him.
Practice looks like it's been paying off for Steve-O. He's certainly got this qualifying pace here in France.
Here he comes now, around turn 15. Very tight. On the power early. Should be a very good time as he crosses the line improves by over 2/10, and it's a 129.2. Another good lap from Steve-O.
I think he might have saw how close Mikey was and thought, I need to build that gap.
Yeah.
But of course, halfway through the qualifying session now, the track will be developing. There'll be some rubber laid down from the cars that have been round already, meaning there'll be better traction going round the track. And you always find that your lap times improve deeper into the qualifying session you go. Anyone about to set a lap? We've got Chewy coming round.
And a letdown of state has just invalidated his time in the first chicane.
Chewy posts a 132.5. I know he invalidated his first attempt, so I wonder if he's happy with that time. Dastardly now out on the soft tyres. Posted a 132 on the mediums. There's got to be at least a 1 second deficit between the softs and the mediums, so we'll see how he can improve his time. And he's already knocked 7/10 off his time in sector 1 alone. It wasn't a purple, but it was definitely faster than his medium set would obviously be the case. I like these drivers who design their helmet around the car they'll be driving. As he posted a purple sector 2 there, quicker by 1.3 seconds than his previous time.
Yeah, and that was really well taken through the back straight chicane by Dastardly there. Took the line perfectly, got on the power on the exit. And it's going to be a very competitive time on this lap for him.
A lot of curb on the exit as he slams open his DRS coming down towards the finish line, and he crosses the line with a 129.8, which puts him provisional third.
That's a good lap from him. That's about normal for his pace, I would say. Steve-O and Mikey just ahead of him. Steve-O with another big gap similar to last week as he had in qualifying, but it'll be a battle behind him for sure.
So is a letdown of state setting another flying lap? It kind of looks like he might be, looking at his time. His fuel light is flashing, so it's whether he's got enough fuel to finish the lap and get round again to come back into the pits.
And he's not pulled into the pits.
Yep, he's finishing the lap. Took a lot of curb on that last exit. He was lucky to remain within the track limits, and he improves by half a second, 5/10.
And he moves up a place as well.
He does. We've got Sega to Cos, who has yet set a time, just starting his flying lap on a set of medium tyres. It's currently only the Williams cars that are looking at setting a time on the mediums. So 3 minutes left. Any cars wanting to set another lap will need to be out on track or leaving the garage pretty soon.
Here we have CHM coming on the pit lane straight, about set a time. He was quicker through the first two sectors, and he's quicker overall by Nearly 5 tenths. He moves up a place.
That's
A
a
good
good
lap
time.
from CHM.
1:30.0. That's a very good time. It looks like Sega might be setting a respectable time
Oh, and just
on the medium.
riding on board with Chewy as he spins coming out of the final corner. And the way he spun sort of brought him toward the pit lane entry, so he was able to get it back in the pit lane in a safe way.
Sega taking P10 for now with the medium tyres with the 1:31.9. If he's got enough fuel, he'll be able to set another lap. Steve looks quite happy with his time. He's getting out of his car.
And Sega faster through Sector 1. So he'll be looking to move up a place or two.
I'm going to ride on board with the current leading champion. Just Mikey. Let's see if he can close that gap. Steve-O any more than he has already. And he sets a purple sector 1. He was only 42 thousandths down from his time, or up from his time before. Very tidy sector 2. And he gets a purple sector 2, 2 tenths down from his time, which brings him to within 2 tenths of Steve-O's time. So he needs to get another 2 tenths plus in this final sector to challenge Steve-O's pole. Oh, very good traction from that corner. DRS button is about to flash, so we can open it, and he opens it immediately, firing it down towards the finish line. And he does improve by a tenth, but not enough to challenge Steve-O's pole.
And Dastardly sets the purple sector 2. He hasn't improved overall, but he had a really good sector 2, so if he can really put it together on sector 3, he might be able to challenge Mikey.
Appleplex is in front of Dastardly. It looks like he's coming into the pit, so he's given up on his lap. Old Dads might be a bit far back to challenge, but Dastardly could take... Oh, and he's in the pit.
Dastardly's bailed out.
Prev currently on a lap. He is the only driver who is able to set a faster lap.
Can he improve?
He does improve by 2 tenths, but that doesn't change his start position, unfortunately. And that is our qualifying session over. Nobody else is able to set or improve a lap.
And that's another pole for Steve-O. He'll be looking to turn it into a race win this week.
We don't manually record polls at Wheel2wheel. Maybe we should. I'd be interested to see how many polls Steve-O has had.
Yeah, his pace is very impressive. His one lap pace especially.
For the French Grand Prix qualifying session, we have Steve-O on pole Just Mikey in second, Dastardly is third, CHM is fourth, Appleplex is fifth, Old Dad Rules is sixth, Prev is seventh, A Letdown Estate is eighth, Sega to Cos ninth, Ted is 10th, and Chewy is 11th. So Chewy will get free tyre choice for the start of the race. Everybody else will have to start on the tyres they have set, which they've all set on the softs, with the exception of the Williams, who set them on the medium tyres. Got a couple people saying hello on my live stream. Evening Vern, evening Supra.
And it is nearly race time here at the French Grand Prix. And we're here at the circuit Paul Ricard once again. It is a 3.63 mile circuit with 15 corners, 6 to the left and 9 to the right. A couple of DRS straights to help overtaking. Not a great overtaking spot going into turn 1. The main overtaking spot will be that second DRS straight going into turn 8 on that back straight chicane. And tires, we got soft, medium, and hard, and not a whole lot of tire life at this track. The softs only lasting a maximum of 17 laps according to Pirelli. Mediums will only go 28 laps, and the hards lasting a maximum of 36 laps. And those are the maximum laps that those tires can possibly do according to Pirelli. But the ideal race lap window for these tires, soft tires, it'll be 10 to 14 laps before they start really falling off during the race. Mediums the drivers will be looking to do 20 to 25 laps, and the hard tires about 30 laps, the ideal window. So a lot of different strategies probably going to come into play. So it should be an exciting race.
Yeah, a lot of early stops then for our drivers. We've got 9 of the 11 on the soft tyres. But of course, all your pit strategies don't survive the first pit stop, the first safety car, sorry. And I wonder if we're going to have any here. With only 11 cars on track, I think that reduces the risk of a safety car, but lap 1, anything can happen.
Yeah, it isn't. There's not a high chance of a safety car at this track compared to others. Not really any walls to hit.
There's a lot of runoff area, isn't there?
Yeah. But anything can happen. As we saw a little bit of chaos on lap 1 on Wednesday during the AL1 race.
Yes. Unfortunately, I had a spectator seat for that because I didn't do my update in time, so sat waiting for it. I missed the start of the session. So I managed to join in on this screen that we're all looking at now, and I just could do nothing but sit and watch and not participate.
And this is a track where, as I said in the intro, real life, the past couple years, it hasn't been a fan favorite, not produced the most exciting racing. But for some reason in this game, it seems to produce great battles. And I know you and I have had a couple in the races that we've done here, but
yeah.
Wednesday we really saw all through the grid, really, from the leaders all the way back through the midfield. It can just be a track where it's hard to get separation because of that long DRS straight. So even if you're not really matching the pace of the car in front, if you can just stay within that DRS window, you can just sit right behind them, really, and wait for your opportunity and be in a battle that you wouldn't normally be in if it wasn't for those DRS straights keeping you in it. So
well, that's it. That long DRS straight is going to be where a lot of the overtakes and a lot of the opportunities will come alive. And I've seen you and Zach having a few battles down that DRS straight.
Yeah, and it can be really exciting going side by side into that chicane, and then on the exit, um, being so close together, and then it's that flat out turn 10 to the right, and going side by side through there can be really, really exciting. So hopefully we get some good battles through that back straight today. We probably will, as this is such a competitive league. So many different race winners, so many different podium sitters, and yeah, it should be an exciting one.
Well, there's an interesting championship battle going on. Mikey is the current leader. Steve-O is certainly bringing his game, which he wants to try and improve his position. Dastardly is also not wanting to let any of the points go for free. He unfortunately DNF'd last week, which meant Mikey could take an advantage in the championship table. So Dastardly is going to be looking to reclaim some of that deficit he lost last week.
Yeah, and last week's race winner, Bannister, who moved into second in the Drivers' Championship with that win last week, unfortunately not able to race today as the drivers start their formation lap, so Dastardly will be looking to jump back in front of Bannister this week with really any sort of decent finish by his standards. He should be getting back into second ahead of Bannister.
Yeah, it won't be through lack of trying. But, I mean, Dastardly will be happy with any points finish tonight, because that just prevents Mikey getting them points away from him. So we've not heard any message about the weather, so we're assuming we're going to be looking at a full dry race. Using a good old-fashioned eyeball, we can have a look, and there doesn't look to be too much dark cloud up in the sky, so but without a Jeff of our own, we can't see.
Beautiful sunny day in the south of France. And it isn't too long of a run into turn 1, but it's a really difficult corner to go too wide in. As we saw Wednesday, just off the start, trying to make up positions, being aggressive. A lot of incidents can happen, a lot of contact can happen. It's such a difficult, tight corner to get right, even when you're the only car there. But with so many cars around you,
but to go around
it can really be chaotic.
With all the others, it doesn't feel like as wide as it is. So we've got a predicted pit stop strategy there for Steve-O with soft mediums. So as we now line up and get ready for lights out.
There's 5 lights on. Boogity, boogity, boogity. We're racing in France, and Steve-O gets away really well. Mikey trying to challenge on the outside.
For a jump start.
And Steve-O is clear into turn 1 and through turn 2 cleanly. Mikey's behind him.
Contact with the Ferrari and the Red Bull, and also.
And there's a Renault CHM. Is trailing well behind the pack. Wonder if there's an incident there.
Yeah, there was some contact. He spun round. Not sure who would cause that, but that would be a review from the stewards later as Ted is driving off track. I think he was trying to make sure he stayed away and didn't make any contact with anybody he didn't want to.
And Old Dad's Rule going down the inside of Prev, having a look.
Oh,
and there's contact!
Prev needs to get his car turned around back on track. That'll be an early start for them, but we have a safety car being deployed on lap 1.
Well, what a crazy start that was.
So that will give Prevs, Old Dads and CHM, should he have any damage, to get into the pits and get a fresh wing on, change the tyres.
And Mikey is coming in.
Oh. Did Mikey pick up any damage? Or is he just going for a strategy?
We'll see if they change his wing. He's going on to the medium tire, no wing change. So he's seen the opportunities. These softs don't last a very long time at all. And he's seen the opportunity to jump onto the medium tire, which is probably the better race tire overall. And he's pulled the trigger in. We'll see how it plays out for him. An aggressive call from Mikey, but I like it, trying to make something happen.
I think it's probably clever because he could go medium now if he was able to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas everybody else would have 2 stops that they have to do. But yeah, Prev came in pit and he put on the mediums. Old Dads went on to a fresh set of softs. Who benefited the most from that race start? Let's have a look. Sega to Kaz, which I thought. He's on the medium tyres. He managed to gain 5 positions, as did Chewy, but I think I just seen Chewy disconnected from the session. So hopefully his AI car won't cause too many issues, or he can hopefully get back onto track and retire the car.
So a lot of people gaining positions in that first lap. Dastardly gained 1, Appleplex gained 2, Sega, as you say, gained 5 positions, and a Letdown Estate gaining 3, Ted gaining 3, and CHM, Mikey, Old Dads, and Prev all dropping positions, but all going into the pits after that first lap.
CHM and Mikey back up with the pack now. Old Dad's just behind, and Prev is not far further away either. But safety car is not in this lap, so we get another tour of the Paul Ricard track. Ted's trying to keep his tyres warm.
And CHM actually did not pit under the safety car. We saw him get turned around in turn 1 and be behind the pack, but CHM not coming in, so we assume that he didn't pick up any damage, still on the soft tire. So an interesting choice from him to stay out. So we already had a lot of different strategies in play, but this safety car has just made it even more interesting from a strategy standpoint. And the one to watch really is our championship leader, Mikey, down in 9th, but making that pit stop under the safety car going on in the medium tire.
Yeah. So although he's on the slower tyre, he can go further into the race with those, and he's not going to be looking to hang behind his teammate too long. He's going to be wanting to get back up into them podium places. So surely the safety car should be coming in this lap. So we won't have DRS for a while. There we go. As Steve-O backs the field up now. And it's all under Steve-O's control. He decides when to release the field to go racing again. And they've all just got to sit behind and guess, basically, but Steve needs to wait until the safety car pulls into the pit lane, and then we have a green track.
Yeah, he's free to hold up the field as much as he wants as long as he doesn't accelerate and then slow down again, and he looks to be off before the second to last corner.
He is, he's away. And he seems to be pulling a gap. And Ted was very tight on the inside there. Against Chewy's car. Is that still an AI? Yeah, that looks to still be an AI car. Just Mikey has made it past his teammate, and now he's looking at the back of Ted's car, wondering when he can get past.
And old dad's right on the back of CHM.
No DRS this round, but Mikey will still be looking to use his overtakes. Get as close to the back of that Williams car as he can. That Williams looks to be more gaining on the Mercedes in front of him.
And old dad's switching to the inside, coming into turn 10. And he's got the move done on CHM. Got a really good exit out of the chicane there.
Mikey is behind the AI car of Chewy at the moment. So he's going to want to try and get past that car as quick as he can.
Yeah, he's just got to be careful. You never know with an AI car.
Yeah, they're slightly unpredictable. And old dad's pits.
It's Mikey. Switches to the outside. And he's got it done into turn 1.
Old dad's he must have had a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, he was.
Yes,
he jumped the start, didn't he?
He did.
And he couldn't serve it under the safety car, so
No.
really unlucky for him.
So Steve-O managing to pull a 1.6 second gap on Dusty. He's behind, safety cars behind him, but he is now being challenged by a letdown of state.
A letdown of state has a look at the inside into the chicane, but backs out of it just a bit too far behind. But he'll be looking to put more pressure on as he's on the quicker tire at the moment. So while those softs have good life and good grip, he'll be really looking to make a move here as Sega's on the medium tire.
Cars starting to queue up behind him. CHM on the inside of Chewy. Really beginning to hold up the other cars. And DRS is now enabled, so when we get round to Sector 2, that DRS straight, people will be able to open DRS, and Ted makes it past a letdown of state. Or was a letdown of state trying to get past Ted? No.
Ted has made the move. Sega. Yeah, Ted has made the move. And a letdown of state right back on him as they go into turn 3. It's really good racing from Ted there.
All this time, Mikey's just trying to catch these guys who are battling.
Old Dad's, it's a 3-second penalty. And Ted won't be in a good position here. But he's able to hold off the Ferrari into the chicane, and he goes way off track and gets a 3-second time penalty for that one.
Yeah, probably justified because he was able to keep his position there whilst under threat from a letdown. Gets past Chewy's AI. Ted done a great job to get past a letdown of state when he did, because now this is causing a bit of a bottleneck. Because in front of Sega, there's a 3.5 second gap to Appleplex.
Yeah, and Mikey will be looking to get past a letdown of state, but if a letdown of state can stay ahead and stay within DRS range of Ted, it'll be really difficult for Mikey to get the move done on any of the DRS straights.
Mikey's doing a good job trying to make sure he gets a better exit on these corners, and it looks like he's already got a better exit. He's nearly passed him before he's even activated his DRS.
And he's easily clear as they go into the chicane.
He didn't manage to get DRS off the back of Ted that round, it looked like.
But he's got a good exit out of the chicane, and a letdown of state coming back at Mikey here.
It's very tight on the inside.
And he's
Mikey
got
yields.
it done down the inside. What a move
Mikey
from a letdown of state.
I think Mikey backed out on that one because I think he knew it weren't worth the risk of a race-ending collision.
Yeah, through that corner, any sort of contact in that flat-out turn 10 can be really damaging to both drivers.
A letdown of state still on the faster compound of tyres, so it's always going to increase that difficulty for Mikey to get past as he just goes a bit wide and gets a 3-second penalty. He'll be kicking himself for that because he was just trying to get as much speed as he can to challenge a letdown on that straight.
Yeah, he's just got to stay close to him through this first sector, but he has a look
Right
down
on
the
the
inside. But as long as he gets a good exit onto the back straightaway, he'll have DRS. Should be able to get the move done there.
Yeah, but all this time it's costing him. He's changing strategy, putting him further back in the field than where he wanted to be as he gets past the letdown of state. Means he's now got a 2.5 second gap to Ted, and in front of him, Sega Takaz has got a 5 second gap to Appleplex, and Dastardly's got a 3 second gap to Stevo. So all that time, he's got to make up. Now, you said before that these tyres are going to be, the soft tyres are going to be looking to go off between 10 to 14 laps, was it?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Especially at the start of the race, using not fresh softs, so really closer to 10 laps than 14.
Dastardly having a look on Appleplex. I think Appleplex just got past Dastardly. Both on the same tyre compound, so... Where simultaneously, Ted is now looking at his teammate on the same tyre compound to see if he can get past him. Both cars are in DRS range. So first of all, Dastardly gets to have a look on Appleplex.
Old Dad's rule with his second 3-second time penalty as Ted has a look at the inside on Sega. A little lockup as he just backs out of it at the last second.
Dastardly is now alongside Appleplex, and they're both going around that corner. Great wheel-to-wheel battle in there.
And the two Williams.
Sega Takaz did the same.
Ted has gotten ahead of his teammate. Round turn 10. And this is where, for both Appleplex and Ted both getting in front of their closest rivals, it's just going to be so difficult for them to build any sort of gap. So we talked about the DRS being so powerful with this track. As long as Sega and Dastardly can be within a second, they're always going to have a chance to fight back.
Yeah. Ted is just managing to get outside of DRS range.
And Mikey has closed the gap to Sega, and Mikey has DRS. He closes the gap as they go into the chicane.
My stream keeps telling me I've got 10 comments, but when I go on my phone, I actually haven't got 10 comments. Which is really strange. Yeah, never mind. Sorry if you commented and I can't see it. So Appleplex has managed to pull a gap on Dastardly, meaning he doesn't have DRS. Ted also maintaining his gap to Sega, meaning they doesn't have DRS, meaning leaving Mikey to be one of the only cars having DRS this round.
Mikey, our championship leader, trying to work his way back through the field after that early pit stop under the safety car, changed his strategy.
He managed to get past a letdown estate and now is cleared 4 seconds from him, but on a letdown estate he's got these soft tyres along with Steve-O, Appleplex, Dastardly and CHM, Chewy. Old dads are all on soft tyres, which looks like they're going to be wanting to pit soon.
Mikey is coming alongside Sega. Sega also having DRS, so he's side by side into the chicane. And Sega's able to stay in front for the time being, but can Mikey get a good exit out of the chicane?
He has.
He's got overtake on, switches to the inside. Has the inside line through turn 10. And he looks to have it done. What a move from Mikey.
But Mikey now 10 seconds off the leader. And they're all looking to pit, so he has the net lead of this race currently because everybody in front has got to pit as Dastardly.
And Dastardly.
Pits. What is Dastardly going on? Dastardly onto a medium compound. Where's Dastardly coming out? The big drop, isn't it, when you hit?
And Prev round the outside of CHM. They're wheel to wheel through turn 1. And Prev just went a little bit off the track there. And CHM has got the position back. Prev will get DRS down the back straight. He's right behind the Renault of CHM. He's got loads of overtake if he wants it, and he flips it on, as well as DRS.
Well,
and he just backs off.
That was strange. I mean, I've seen people not wanting to go in for the challenge, but that was a massive...
He backed out really early, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he looks to have a go at the inside, but backs out of that one as well through turn 10.
As Steve-O pits, 11 laps on them tyres. Appleplex also pitting.
As well.
Sorry, I'm going to have to flip to Mikey.
And CHM is in the pits, and So Prev will have a clear track in front of him.
Shout out to Dastardly Arm, me working on that. Shout out to Devil's Armpit watching the stream. Ex Wheel2wheel racer.
And Steve-O's gone on to soft tires. Interesting choice. And he comes
his
out.
strategy was soft, medium when it sort of suggested at the start, but
he's right behind Prev and probably getting the move done here as he's got DRS down the back straight. He's down the inside and through into the chicane.
So what battles are we looking at now? A letdown estate is likely to pit soon as he goes very deep there and picks up a 3-second time. Well, I think them tyres must be gone on his car because he's off the track more than he's on at the minute.
Yeah, those soft tires will be sliding all over the place at this point. And Mikey has closed the gap at the front now. He's jumped up to second after all the pit stops and has DRS down the main straight on Ted. This is within a second now.
A letdown estate back out on some soft tyres, so similar pit strategy to Steve-O. I think I may have just seen old dads hitting the back of Chewie's AI car.
As we're looking at Mikey going down the inside with DRS going into the chicane. He's got the inside line and he's gotten in front through the chicane.
Only 1 lap difference between Ted and Mikey's car, but Mikey's been able to pull it up from, where was it, 9th place he was when he, after that safety car, or 8th?
Yeah, he's gotten all the way back into first place.
So Ted currently with the most gains. He's got 8 places gained from the start of this Grand Prix, because obviously both Williams drivers was down in 9th and 10th. So currently looking strong. We've got to see how Steve-O's pit strategy will come through as he sets the fastest lap with a 1:34.7. A letdown estate being pit challenged by Chewie's AI car going into the pit there. So Ted is still hanging onto the back of Mikey in his slipstream and just sort of around the DRS window. So it keeps dropping in and out of it. Sega is 3 seconds back from that battle. Steve-O 5 seconds, but I think he is gaining on that pack. So it's going to be a very interesting call to see how Mikey's early strategy change will affect the final outcome of the race.
Yeah, and Steve-O will want to close the gap to Mikey on this stint because he can't go onto the softs a third time, surely he's got to go medium. I think that was the strategy that was suggested for him. So he's got to close the gap, as Mikey will likely go mediums as well on the final stint.
Dastardly picking up a 3-second time penalty as he's looking at closing this gap to Appleplex. And he's just on the cusp for DRS in the activation zone, but he's got DRS. So it's all sort of spreading out a little bit. The only close battle going on at the minute is Dastardly. Seems to always get good exit out of that last part of Sector 2, which has allowed him to close the gap right down now, coming round to the final sector. Appleplex not with much overtake to defend. Dastardly has closed that gap right down now, so he's going to be looking to capitalise on that on this next DRS straight. And Steve-O is gaining on the Williams cars, but the Williams cars seem to be dropping back from Mikey, which I think sort of gives a... Steve-O isn't actually gaining on Mikey. From what I'm looking at.
You have to think Mikey is in the best place to win this race now. Having made that early pit stop, it looks like it's going to pay off. Of course, a long way to go. Another safety car could change everything, but as it stands, our championship leader looking to be in a really good spot to take a race win here.
Yes, and it would be his second of the season, as we discussed last week. We first 8 races, we had 8 different winners. But Bannister picked up his second win last week, so who's going to be picking up the win this week? As Ted pits 16 laps on the mediums.
He's throwing on another set of mediums.
So 16, 16, 32 laps. If he does another 16 on them, well, I say 16, it's kind of 17.
That's interesting because you would think he would have been able to go a few more laps on those mediums.
Yeah.
But we'll see how his strategy plays out from there.
Yeah, that won't leave him. That'll leave him too many laps to do a soft run, to go medium, medium, soft.
If he can, well, he would need to do at least 20 to 25 laps to even consider the softs for the final stint, which is more than he did on that stint right there.
Yeah, because he needs a different compound. He can't go mediums again, because then there'll be 3 mediums.
I think he'll be able to go medium soft from here, but just interesting why he pit so early on those tires.
Mikey pit as well. Mikey pit, and it looked like Sega did a very late decision to follow him. And we've got a 3-way battle for 4th, which will soon change as Steve-O retakes the race lead.
Do you know
Mikey
what I'm thinking? Maybe there's some weather that might be coming into play later in the race that...
There must be. Otherwise this doesn't make sense.
This doesn't make sense from the outside looking in. really doesn't make sense why they'd be pitting so early on these medium tires.
There's less cloud in the sky now than there was at the start of the race.
Yeah, it's interesting. As Appleplex is right on the back of Prev coming onto the back straight. He'll have DRS, not much overtake to work with. His battery's all the way down to 2%, 1%, and he's got nothing left by the time he gets down to the chicane.
That just kind of shows you the power of that battery, because he had nothing to catch him with then. DRS open, no battery, he just was not gaining.
Yeah, but without that electrical power, it's over 100 horsepower, isn't it, that you lose?
Yeah. It's like the average power of a car. Average family car, like, you know.
And Dastardly won't mind Appleplex and Prev battling a little bit as he closes the gap further.
Devo with another fastest lap with a 1:34.5. I'm just beginning to think, actually, we've got this three-way battle for second, and then the two Williams are together just behind Mikey, but them three have kind of synchronized their strategies almost now.
They have, haven't they? So many different strategies.
Chewy saying maybe rain near the end of the race.
That will bring another strategy element into this already interesting strategic race.
Well, yes, because will their setups handle the wet weather? Because I know a lot of people who have a dry setup and a wet setup, but if you've got a half dry, half wet race, what do you do?
I would think with dry qualifying and it's dry looking like at least half of the race, I think at that point you need to probably prioritize the dry setup part of it.
Yeah. I've lost a race in France before. We have a yellow flag in Sector 3. It was one of the Williams, Ted. He was off the track. I'm not sure what happened there, but he don't look to have any damage. But it's swapped in places with his teammate.
Yeah, it's one of those parts of the track, like most of this track, where there's just so much runoff, so even if you do make a mistake, you're able to get away with it without really risking any damage. No walls to hit or anything like that.
Made it past Prev. Or am I reading that wrong? Yes, he did.
He did, and Dastardly will be looking to make it past as well as they come onto the DRS straight. Dastardly with a good bit of overtake to work with.
Both cars with overtake, so Prev isn't backing off easy. But Dastardly with the inside line manages to take it and keep the position. Now he's looking at Appleplex, who has got virtually no overtake, but mind you, Dastardly doesn't have much left after that manoeuvre.
And just to go back to the strategy situation with the rain, while obviously they go on to different tires, if the conditions get too wet they'll go on to the intermediate tire at the end of the race if there is rain coming. But the reason people may have been pitting early is just that there's no point in, if they had gone 20-25 laps on a set of mediums and then only been able to do 10 or 12 laps on the next set and then had to pit really early. You want to kind of balance the tire life so that you're getting the optimal life and not really dragging any tire longer than you have to.
Do as many laps on the prime tyres whilst they are prime.
Exactly. So that's why we've seen a couple of people pitting earlier than expected. Possibility of rain coming in. And Dastardly
very close to the back of Appleplex, and he dives it down the inside. Can he keep the position as he comes round? They're side by side.
Oh, and
A little bit of
contact.
contact. I was riding on board, and the view kind of didn't allow me to see what happened exactly, but that's given the position to Prev as well.
And Prev looking to have a go at the outside, maybe, of Appleplex, going a little bit wide.
And nearly put him under threat from Dastardly on the inside.
And I think on the exit of the chicane, Dastardly on the left side of the track. And that's where the racing line is, and I think Appleplex just trying to get out of the chicane as best he could. As close to the racing line as he could, but just maybe squeezing Dastardly just a bit.
Now that's meant Prev can regain his second place from Appleplex. Appleplex with great exit out of that corner is now bringing the challenge back to Prev. Oh, it's very tight there. I wouldn't have liked to have been that close to the
Dastardly coming through.
All this while, Mikey.
And Mikey's closed the gap and he joins the party. And we've got a 4-car train down the back straight here. Everyone's got DRS aside from Prev, and Appleplex looking to overtake Dastardly. Dastardly breaks the latest and stays ahead of Appleplex.
Mikey around the outside of Prev.
All 3 cars getting past Prev there, and really nothing he could do without DRS.
No, but he is also on the oldest tyres. But Dastardly coming out the winner from that little 4-way battle.
And you could just see from the angle I was watching, Appleplex was really challenging Dastardly right up to the braking zone, but Dastardly just broke that little bit later that allowed him to stay in front.
Ooh, and Mikey got around the outside of Appleplex there, but
and Appleplex and Mikey both with DRS, but Mikey with a great exit out of the final corner and getting in front of Appleplex. And Prev having a look at the inside. Just backs out at the last second.
Slammed that door on Prev then, saying, I've just been overtook by 1 car, I'm not being overtook by 2. Wow, interesting battle there.
And all of them within DRS range. Maybe Appleplex may have dropped. Appleplex doesn't have DRS, but Mikey does, and he's closing the gap to Dastardly just a little bit too far behind to make a move into the chicane.
Yeah, he might be in Ricardo's car, but I don't think he's got Ricardo's brake pedal. The Dastardly is currently in the position he wanted to be, which would have been in front of Mikey, but now he's under threat from Mikey.
Yeah, Mikey on much fresher tires, only 5 laps old, and with the pace he's got, he's going to really be trying to make a move here.
Yeah, both good drivers, both good racing etiquette, but they're both going to be wanting to be in front. But Mikey with much younger tyres and
Prev getting through past Appleplex down the main straight. And Mikey will get DRS down the back straight, and he's got plenty of overtake to work with. He's got overtake on, and DRS wide open now as he closes the gap on the Ferrari.
He had a
Switching to
great
the
exit
inside,
there.
and he'll have the move done easily into the chicane.
Dastardly typically has some great traction out of that chicane, so let's see if he can fight back. Just hanging back a little bit as I go on board with Appleplex, who's looking at the inside of Prev. This battle sort of panning out now a little bit as I see CHM is getting awfully close to the back of a letdown of state.
And that's a big battle when you look at the constructors' standings. Renault and
Yes.
Ferrari, the top two teams.
Well, you've got Mikey and Dastardly battling out of front, and then you've got a letdown of state and CHM battling out in the lower point scoring positions.
Yeah, and every point matters in a constructor battle like this one.
CHM getting the move done under DRS. But a letdown of state isn't going to be wanting to just surrender that position easily. But both cars at the sort of limit of these tyres.
And Appleplex making his way past Prev once again. We'll see if he can make it stick this time. They've been going back and forth for several laps now.
Letdown estate looking to reclaim that position from CHM under DRS, but doesn't have enough straight to complete the move. Loses a bit of traction on the exit of the chicane, which just drops him back just a bit more than he probably would have wanted. Mikey looking like he's not closing the gap to Steve-O as much as he probably would like to. Steve-O on 14 lap old soft tyres.
And surely Steve-O's got to be pitting soon. So those soft tires will be reaching their limit here pretty soon.
Well, that will be the tell as to what tyres Steve-O goes on. Because if he goes on to another set of softs, there's definitely got to be some rain at the end. But could he take some mediums to the end now? I think he probably could.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of a stretch, but doable.
26, 27 laps. We've got Prev on 25 lap old tyres right now, and he's able to hold his own against people on 10 or more lap younger tyres.
As Sega's closed the gap to Prev, and now he's within DRS range.
Mikey losing time to Steve-O right now. Maybe Steve-O's on an in-lap, ready to pit. But he's not pitting this lap, he's carrying on.
And Prev is into the pits. So 25 laps on the mediums, that's the longest we've seen anyone carry the medium tire so far, but Prev did well to keep his pace up, even as those tires were probably fading those last few laps.
Yeah, you can see a lot of graining on his front left.
And Sega now.
Pits also.
Sega now getting close to the back of Appleplex. They'll have DRS down the back straight. Something to keep in mind here is we see Sega closing the gap to Appleplex. Sega with much more overtake available, with 40%, as Sega's only got 14%. So Appleplex has got 14%.
Devo going another lap on them tyres. You see quite a lot of graining on those tyres.
A little lockup from Appleplex into the final corner. Sega's gotten a really good exit. He's got overtake, he's got DRS, and he's got the move done.
He's got it all.
Easy as you like from Sega into turn 1.
DHM now pitting on them 15 lap old softs.
And now here's what we talked about earlier. Makes for some really interesting battles, as we've got a yellow flag in sector 2.
Ted is round. I think it was Ted last time, wasn't it?
I think it was, and it was just that last turn before sector 2. Right before the DRS detection zone.
I have just had a message from Chewy saying that the last segment of the weather forecast was rain. So that might explain a couple of these tyre strategies.
And CHM, having just pitted, has come out right in front of Old Dads. And Old Dads will have DRS down the back straight. Plenty of overtake available for him, but plenty of overtake for CHM as well, so he's able to stay in front.
Oh, and I'm just spotting Sega. He's right on the back of Dastardly.
Oh, and Dastardly going a little bit deep there.
Sega capitalising on that mistake.
I think Dastardly will get DRS as Sega passed him before the detection zone.
Maybe that was a bit of an error on Sega's part there. If he'd have waited to make the overtake, he could have done it with DRS.
And Dastardly is able to get back in front into the chicane. And Sega not taking that chicane very well. He's lost a lot of time.
I think Dastardly can take that chicane pretty well, which might have the opposite effect. But Sega just outside of outside of DRS range. Who knows right now? As Appleplex is also closing in. Steve-O is pitted. And Mikey is made it past before he came out. Is Steve-O going to be out before Dastardly? I think it's going to be tight.
And he is. As Dastardly faces a threat from behind, as Sega has a look into turn 1. So Steve-O able to come back out in front of Dastardly.
The 5 seconds now separate Steve-O and Mikey. 12 lap difference in the tyres. Sega looking strong to take the overtake to Dastardly this lap, as he will have overtake this time. Struggling a little bit with straight line speed.
They've both got plenty of overtake available.
Yeah, Sega didn't have his overtake on that time, so...
Yeah, I don't think either of them used it.
But even with DRS, he didn't seem to be closing that gap very well at all.
He's gotten a good exit out of the chicane here. As they go round turn 10, he's closing the gap. And he just has to Oh no, he's having a look down the inside in turn 11. But
Dastardly went deep, but Sega wasn't brave enough to send it.
yeah, he just had to back out there. As Mikey is into the pits.
See, now Mikey's gone medium, so he's got the opportunity now to put some softs on, which his engineers are holding.
He's on the softs.
But where is this going to bring him out? Is he going to be in front of Ted? He might be behind Ted. Yellow flag in sector 3. Is that Old Dad's?
There's
That
Old
is
Dad's way off the track. Maybe
them high speed long corners. All you have to do is lose a bit of downforce, lose a bit of traction through unsettling the car on the curb or anything like that, and you're long shot off the track.
And Sega with another good exit out of the chicane as he's gotten alongside and ahead of Dastardly. And Sega is ahead.
Carrying more downforce than Dastardly, because it doesn't seem to be able to challenge him on the straights. It's his chicanes where he's gaining.
And Dastardly also on older tires, which will help Sega as well.
Yes.
As Dastardly is now pulling into the pits.
Mikey on the back of Ted now. Doesn't get DRS this round. So, Mikey's been on these soft tyres for a lap. If Mikey was to take these about 13 laps, we would be looking at around lap 46.
And a great battle going on between Ted and Mikey here as Mikey made a move to get in front in Sector 1, and now Ted will have DRS.
Yeah, but there's a
down the
massive
back
pace
straight
difference between the two now. Mikey on these soft tyres.
Yeah, and Mikey's able to stay comfortably ahead into the chicane. And you'd expect him to build that gap being on fresh softs.
Mikey's 17 seconds behind Steve-O. He's on a faster tyre compound, but 17 seconds is a big gap to close. So it might come down to who can handle the wet weather better.
And some of these high-speed corners can be really difficult in the wet, especially if it goes from dry to wet in the middle of a race. Just figuring out the conditions and when to start taking it a little bit easier on some of these high-speed corners. It's going to be really difficult for the drivers to make that adjustment.
Yeah. Mikey with fastest lap with a 1:34.1, but Steve-O had just posted a 1:34.2 on the medium tyres. So Steve-O's still carrying a lot of pace. You would have thought the soft tyres would have granted Mikey more speed than just a tenth. As he gets the purple sector 1, 4 tenths up. In fact, yes, Mikey is now 15 seconds behind Steve-O, whereas he was 17 earlier, so he is using them softs as he should.
And Dastardly setting a personal best Sector 1 on his fresh soft tires. And Dastardly closing the gap to Prev. He's within a second now. So we see Sega getting a 3-second time penalty. And Mikey setting a fastest lap.
Yes, with a 1:32.5. It was a 1:34.1, was it not before? That was a rapid time. Mikey now 12.5 seconds to Steve-O. So he is gaining now. He must have heard what I said about not gaining.
As Dastardly's got DRS on Prev and a lot of overtake to work with.
A lot more than Prev has.
He's closing the gap very quickly. Will he have enough? Not quite, as he's behind going into the chicane. Can he get a good exit though and challenge into turn 10? As Prev goes off the track, picks up another penalty.
You can see the graining on Prev's tyres, but they're only 7 laps old. Ooh,
Dastardly with overtake and through as he picks up a penalty of his own.
That was, I think he got his machete out then to take that corner. Typical line which Dastardly would say to other people. Old dads with the 3-second time penalty. These time penalties will make a big difference at the end.
Yeah, I think that's
is letting Prev back through, yeah. Which I think is the right thing to do because he chopped that corner and gained the position, albeit he was ahead at the time.
It's good etiquette. You like to see it from Dastardly, and he knows he'd rather get the move done cleanly and have no discussions about it than have any sort of controversy, because he does have the pace, he's on the right tire to get it done cleanly. So he'll be confident he can get it done without any sort of incident here.
You're better off letting the car back on track than it to go to the FIA office and you have a 10-second penalty or to have points on your super license.
And he's behind going through the chicane, but we've got a brief yellow in Sector 3, but it's green now.
That was old dad's letting the faster cars through, which it looks like he's got Just Mikey coming up behind him now. Just Mikey now within 12 seconds of Steve-O.
Oh, and Dastardly getting very close to Prev here in Sector 3. Those soft tires really showing their grip. He's getting right on the gearbox of that Red Bull. And he'll have DRS down the main straight, see if he can get a good exit. There's a little bit of ground coming out of the final corner.
Yeah, Prev it wasn't the best exit from Dastardly.
Prev still comfortably ahead as they go into turn 1.
"37 laps into this 53-lap race. Skies are looking a bit cloudier now."
And Dastardly right on the back of Prev. He switches to the inside to avoid a collision there. So he got a great exit onto the straightaway. And he's ahead as they go into the chicane. And is that old dad's off the track once again?
Old dad's off the track. Same area, but it needs to be careful as we have a Williams coming through. Needs to get
and he's got a 10-second time penalty, and he's trying to stay out of the way of the cars coming through.
Yeah.
And now he has a gap, and he'll rejoin safely.
Yeah, that 10-second time penalty would be removed if he was to appeal it, if it was to affect his finishing position. But looking at where he is, it's maybe not going to make
he's
too
got
much difference.
5 or 6 penalties even before that, so
yeah,
Not his best day.
It's a tough
So
track.
it is. As we said earlier, it's a very tricky track to have a good setup for because you need the straight line speed, but you also need the downforce and the stability through sectors 1 and 3.
Yeah. Heads come in and put on a fresh set of softs. Oh, Old Dads has left. But unfortunately his car is still on track. We've got 2 AI cars, which hopefully will, fingers crossed, have no more safety cars, but we're going to have some weather by the looks on it, which will change the dynamic of this.
Yeah, and if you switch to the onboard cameras, you can really see those gray clouds starting to form over the track. It was bright and sunny when we started, but dark and gloomy as we come toward the end of the race.
You can really see the graining on the front tyres of Sega Takas. And he's only on 20 laps on their mediums.
Yeah, 20 laps is when those tires start to go. We've seen someone take mediums to 25 laps, but that's really stretching them.
We need a graph they're doing on the tyres.
Yeah, we just need... If we could get access to the multifunction display that you have as a driver, where you can see the percentage of each tire.
Yeah.
If the spectators could have access to that, that would be really interesting. To see what all the tire life has.
Rather than them dodgy ones you do actually see in the real life.
Yeah.
Hamilton's got 10% left on all of his tyres. Fastest lap.
As Appleplex goes through into 5th place. He's on fresh soft tires, and Prev, not much he could do to fight that one.
Just Mikey within 9 seconds of Steve-O now, so he's closing that gap. But
he's right on the back of Sega Takas as well.
As this race develops with the weather, is he going to have made up enough of a gap to Steve-O to bring home the race win?
They're going to turn 1. Mikey has a look at the outside, but Sega shuts the door on him. And I'll have to stick behind him through sector 1 till they get to the next DRS zone down the back straightaway.
Looking at the difference in tyres, it should be an easy job for Mikey, but...
Yeah, as long as he gets a good exit here, which it looks like he has. He's got plenty of overtake. He's got DRS. Easily ahead there for Mikey.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at some extreme tyre wear on Mikey's tyres in the next few laps. But when is this rain going to fall?
And this is where it gets interesting for someone like Sega on old tires. He'll be tempted to pit here in the next lap as he is coming in now.
Yeah.
And I was just about to say, if it is going to start raining here in the next couple laps, he would have wanted to stretch those mediums maybe a couple laps longer, so maybe go straight onto the intermediate tires if conditions are getting wet, as he's going on to the soft tire now.
He did have a big gap to Dastly, but he doesn't seem to be out the pits as quick as I thought he was going to be, as he comes out in 6th place. But still, one thing I used to do a lot on this game, more previous games than 2020, is when Jeff's saying it's going to rain, I'd put on a fresh set of tyres. Because then I'd know that I've got grip over other people who are trying to handle wet weather on old worn tyres. I'm trying to handle wet weather on fresh, grippy tyres.
Yeah, and Sega out of the pits and right on the back of the Red Bull of Prev.
Straight line speed again. He does not have
and
that
he's not using his overtake either. But he'll look to be getting a good exit out. Oh, really well taken chicane from Sega.
Prev placing his car exactly where he needs to, though.
Prev looking really defensive there, but he goes wide. And Sega's able to squeeze through.
That was a great move by Sega. Just waiting for Prev to make a mistake, and he just went that bit too deep. And Sega was there, straight in the gap.
Yeah, and you could see Prev going into that corner. Just taking the inside line, trying to cover, maybe be a little bit too defensive. And not really being on the racing line, and then ended up going a little bit too deep. But Sega's able to take advantage and back into 5th. And he's already very close to Appleplex in 4th. As he set a purple sector 1, he is rampant on these fresh soft tires. Already in DRS range of Appleplex, and he's closing the gap very quickly, but just a bit too far behind to have a move into the chicane. But as we've seen, if you get a good exit out of the chicane, you can have a move through turn 10.
Ooh, he's probably not close enough this round, but he's
and he might be having a look. He just lets off a little bit to avoid any sort of collision. He has to slam on the brakes. They go side by side in turn 11. But Appleplex is
there, and Appleplex left in the room, but he just didn't want to take it through risk of collision.
Yeah, that is such a difficult corner because it's so long, sort of a really late apex as they get very... Was there contact there?
There may have been. He was very close to the back of him. And again.
Oh, and a little bit of contact. Appleplex.
There's a bit of love lost between these two this race, I can say that. But Sega is maybe missing a trick, because he is on the freshest tyres on this track right now. And we know he can set a purple sector 1. So he could get in the fastest lap now, and if the rain starts to fall, he will take the extra point.
And Sega will be looking to get the move done here. He'll have DRS. He's got plenty of overtake if he wants it.
Gets back into the slipstream just to give him that little extra boost.
And he's down the inside and ahead. And I don't want to speculate. Maybe I didn't see it, but it really looked like Appleplex just moved across Sega on the main straight there.
Well, he was maybe looking to defend, but, you know, playing devil's advocate, maybe he didn't see where Sega was. Maybe it moved more than he wanted to as the rain is beginning to fall. So Mikey, 8 seconds behind Steve-O on 12-lap-old soft tyres. He's going to have to keep hold of them for at least another lap or two before this track becomes wet.
And with 10 laps to go, it'll be interesting to see how many laps are left when the track gets wet enough for intermediates. Or maybe the track might just stay dry enough to carry slick tires to the end. It'll depend on the severity of the rain. If it's just light rain, then the track will stay drier for a little bit longer. Even as you say, it starts to rain lap 44, but it'll be a few laps before the driving line gets wet enough to really trouble the drivers.
Well, that's it, but it'll start to trouble them before it would benefit having intermediate tyres on.
Yeah.
There's Steve-O on 13 lap old softs, 13 lap old mediums, might be in a better position than Mikey, because he's going to be trying to challenge this tricky condition with really worn 12 lap softs.
And I'll tell you what, Sega Guitars has been flying on these soft tires, and he's already up on the back of another car. He's right behind Dastardly, who's in third place.
Mikey currently holding the fastest lap, likely to hold that till the end of the race due to the weather conditions now. As you say, Sega really bringing that battle for Dastardly now. 3 seconds clear of Appleplex already.
Sega will have DRS, but Dastardly with a really good exit as he builds the gap as they enter the back straightaway, and he's comfortably ahead into the chicane. And if you're Sega on these fresh soft tires, you'll want to get this move done as he gets right on the back of the Ferrari going around turn 11. But
It was very close there.
As the conditions get more wet, there will be a time where DRS will be disabled. And whether that becomes before everybody makes their pit stops, either way, Sega will want to get this move done quick before DRS gets disabled, as he's got DRS now down the main straight, and he is ahead and clear into turn 1.
Yeah. You could see he was definitely faster through them curvy sections, and it was almost hindering him being that quick because he was too close to the back of the car in front.
Yeah, he really had to slam on the brakes a couple of times there just to avoid contact.
Mikey now 5 seconds from Steve-O, so Mikey's gaining ground now within this weather on them old soft tyres. But it does look like he's struggling for grip. But is it wet enough for intermediates? We haven't seen DRS be disabled, sorry, so far, and that's usually the pinnacle point of getting the intermediates on. You almost wish you could time it that you are driving into the pits as it says DRS disabled.
Yeah, because that's really the notification from the game that the virtual stewards, if you will, are deeming conditions as wet.
Yeah.
Which is when you want to be on the intermediate tire.
Now Mikey is closing this gap to Steve-O. Steve-O doesn't seem to really be getting on well with this tricky weather, because Mikey is now nearly 3.5 seconds back from Steve-O. This really is a game of 2 races, because we've got Steve-O and Mikey, and then 18.5 seconds gap to Sega, and he's on fresher tyres. So just before the wet weather comes in on lap 47 coming on to lap 48. Steve-O is in first. Just Mikey is second. Sega is third. Dastardly is fourth. Appleplex is fifth. Prev is sixth. Ted is seventh. A Letdown Estate is eighth. And CHM is ninth. And Old Dads and Chewy have both disconnected. Steve-O only 3 seconds in front of Mikey. Is now coming up to is that CHM? Yeah, CHM and Chewy's AI car. If Mikey catches Steve-O any quicker, he might even get one of the last DRS off him.
And those soft tires, he's on 16 laps. And they can only go a maximum of 17 laps according to Pirelli. So if he stays on them too much longer, he'll really be at risk of maybe a puncture, on top of the lack of grip that he's already experiencing.
Oh, Ted with a 5-second corner cut penalty. Thing is, Mikey's tyre wear is probably not going to be as much at the minute. I know this is tricky conditions, but I think a lot of the wear comes from the heat, and with this track now damp, if anything, is going to be struggling to get the heat into the tyres.
Yeah, the tires won't be wearing as quickly as normal.
But there is massive graining on his front left. You can see major graining on his front right. Can't see too much on the back, but that might be because of the weather. You can't really see as well. But actually, there is graining on his rear right. Now 17 lap old, soft tyres. Steve-O coming up to the AI car of Chewy.
Mikey has got Steve-O in his sights.
Steve-O's got DRS off the AI car, unfortunately. So he's able to run away a little bit more than he probably would have if the car was not there. But still, anything could happen. We could almost get to the end of this race with no intermediate tyres.
And at this point, is it worth it to have a 20-25 second pit stop rather than just carrying on with the slick tires, even if conditions are a little more wet than ideal for the slick tires?
Hindsight is 2020, because if Mikey pits to get off these 17 lap old tyres, it reduces the risk of having a puncture and a blowout and ruining his race entirely. He could pit and then have to pit again 1 lap later for intermediates and be 2 pit stops down.
And I think for Mikey, he's on lap 18 with these soft tires. It's not a huge risk for him to pit if conditions do reach that intermediate condition, but if his race engineer isn't telling him to switch tires, then he almost has no choice but to continue on these soft tires.
Yeah, it would be a silly move to pit now, I think. The fresh slicks. Albeit he's probably thinking if he'd have gone a bit longer on his other stints, he could have fresher tyres now, but again, hindsight's 2020, because that gap to Steve-O is now sort of dropped. He's probably finding his feet in this wet weather, and also the fact that his 19 lap mediums will be in a much better condition than Mikey's 18 lap old softs. as Appleplex is very close to Dastardly. I missed that one.
Yeah, he just had a little bit of a look at the inside into the chicane, but in the end, not close enough to really have a move. And then Dastardly got a really good exit out of the chicane and built a little bit of breathing space for him as they enter Sector 3.
Whoa, Mikey losing a lot of traction on the back tyres coming down the start-finish straight. 3 laps to go. Now I do believe Mikey has probably got a 3-second time penalty. I'm sure I've seen his name come up
He
once.
has, I've got a 1 for him marked down, so he's got at least 1.
Yeah.
And I don't think Steve-O has had 1. I'm not sure about that.
Steve-O's name now.
I don't have 1 marked down for Steve-O. Dastardly, I have 3 for him. Sega in 3rd. I have 3 marked down for him as well.
Yeah. He
And I
is
might have
closing to Mikey just about, I think.
And Appleplex in 5th, I also have 3 marked down for him. So, similar penalty situation for the 3, 4, and 5 cars.
Can't take my eyes off Mikey's tyres.
It is incredible that he's still... And he's closed the gap to Steve-O again. He's within 2 seconds. It's incredible driving from Mikey. Even if it were dry, to be able to close the gap on 19 lap old tires, soft tires, that are only supposed to go 17 laps maximum.
Yeah.
And in these conditions, he's still able to close the gap.
Now we'd be looking at Steve-O's tyres thinking, oh, they'll be going off soon. But Mikey's on almost as old soft tyres. But Dastardly's doing a similar trick on 18 lap old tyres.
Yeah, him and Appleplex both getting up there in terms of laps. And Mikey's sliding around a lot. But at this point in the race, the drivers have no choice. They can't pit for another set of slicks. At this point, they just have to carry on and do what they can to collect as many points as they can.
Even to pit for intermediates at this point, you got to lose 20 seconds. Are you going to lose 20 seconds trying to do one more lap?
At this point, they just have to carry on. As Mikey's gotten the gap back under 2 seconds.
As we are coming on to the final lap, just
As
about.
you can see, Mikey really having to work through the gears, downshifting a lot, helping with the retardation of the car in those slower corners. And getting back up through the gears very quickly to allow the maximum traction to be put down. As if you're revving high in the low gears, tires just spin in these conditions.
I think Mikey might even get DRS. And he does.
On the last lap, Mikey with overtake and DRS down the back straight. Looks like he might just be too far behind. But the gap is as close as it's been all race between these two drivers on different strategies right from the first lap. And he's got overtake. Oh, and he just lets off the throttle as they go into turn 10, the fast right-hander. And he's right on his back as they go into turn 11.
You can see Apoplex and Dastardly battling, but Dastardly picked up a penalty during that exchange.
Oh, and
Steve-O
Steve-O just
Mikey
getting a
both
little
have big
loose.
switch.
This is brilliant stuff on the last lap of battle for the lead. It's going to come down to the last corner. Who can get a better exit? Steve-O taking a lot of curb on the inside. Mikey taking a wider entry, and Mikey spins his wheels and loses a lot of time on the exit. And Steve-O will hold on. Santa Maria, what a finish! Steve-O takes the race win.
Mikey second, Sega picking up third place. Apoplex and Dastardly about to cross the line. Will they retain their positions, or will time penalties affect their finishing? Now we have Apoplex in 4th, Dastardly in 5th, Prev in 6th.
Ted coming across the line in 7th.
So with the two constructors battles that was going on, a letdown estate is looking to finish in front of CHM, but Dastardly losing out a few positions there to just Mikey. Great race from Steve-O. It looks like he had his and he's stuck, which meant that he was able to come home with the race. Just Mikey trying to spice it up with that very early safety car, meaning that he was looking to bring the challenge to Steve-O, and he did bring the challenge, but he wasn't able to take that top step today.
Yeah, what a crazy race that ended up being, with the rain coming right at the end. The drivers having to endure those wet conditions on slick tires as it came so late in the race. Really chaotic finish, but Steve-O able to get the race win.
Sega did a really good job to get on that third step and to take the fastest lap also. Oh no, sorry, Mikey took the fastest lap. So there we have the French Grand Prix. I had a comment from Mayhem saying he looked a little bit spread out. It was a bit spread out, but that last lap battle between Mikey and Steve-O was something else. I didn't think Mikey was going to get as close as he did, to the point where I just think another lap either side of any tyre strategy from either of them, and it would have gave a different result. Yeah,
crazy result. In the end, we have Steve-O picking up the race win with Mikey in 2nd, Sega Takaz in 3rd, Apoplex in 4th, Dastardly in 5th, Prev in 6th, Ted in 7th, a letdown of State finishing 8th, CHM finishing 9th, and the two disconnections, Old Dad's Rule and Chewy, 10th and 11th, won't be classified in the final standings. Thank you for joining us for round 10 of the Season 15 AL2 World Championship for Wheel2Wheel Racing. We'll see you next week in Austria. Have a good week, everybody.
Thanks.